Good day, folks. Welcome to Andrew's Life. Today, I am going to be doing a reaction video about a company located in Western New York. Over 1,500 people lost their job at this particular company. It's a tire company. And the sources of where I got this, the sources that I used to put this video together were WKBW TV out of Buffalo, New York, and WGRZ TV. I just want to let you guys know where I got the footage from. Just to be fair to the people that went out there and did the work, and they spoke to the people face to face. And this video is going to provide a lot of cautionary tales for those of us who are still, for whatever reason, working a 9 to 5. So let's get to the video, and I'm going to play the video, and throughout the video, I'm going to just give my commentary. So let's get to it.
Now to the latest on the closure of a Tonawanda plant that will lay off more than 1,500 employees. Sumitomo Rubber USA, which makes tires, is closing its Tonawanda location. And of course, we have team coverage for you this afternoon. Most Buffalo's Alyssa Closell is hearing from local leaders and lawmakers about this sudden closure. But let's start with Most Buffalo's Nate Benson, who is live there with the details of that closure and how employees are reacting. So, Nate, what are you hearing?
All right, folks, for those of you that are not familiar with the state of New York, Western New York is a very blue-collar region of the state of New York. The economy in Western New York is not near as strong compared to Eastern New York. Western New York, economically speaking, is almost the polar opposite of Eastern New York. A lot of times when a lot of media sources discuss New York, they're talking about the five boroughs. They're talking about East New York. So, FYI, Western New York, their economy is a lot smaller compared to Eastern New York. Their communities are a lot smaller, and it's also a lot more blue collar. Let's keep going.
Yeah, good evening, Courtney. The word blindsided is the word I'm hearing from government sources, union sources, as well as workers who I've talked to here. 1,500 people abruptly laid off today after Sumitomo Rubber shut its doors abruptly without much detail to anybody. Let me tell you what we know so far. I'm told there was a Sumitomo board meeting on Tuesday in Japan, and that's when the final decision was made. The company says the decision was made due to the overall facility performance within the increasingly competitive international tire market. Now, what's really interesting here is the facility was already on a temporary shutdown this week. The company told workers that they had too much inventory and were going to give everybody the week paid off while they worked to offload some of those tires. That temporary shutdown started on Monday, and here we are on Thursday. The company announced the abrupt shutdown of the plant. Workers were not notified by the company until 12:15 this afternoon when an email went out to all employees, but by then, word had already spread. Listen to what some of the workers I spoke with today had to say about the whole situation.
Man, I love this job. It paid good. The benefits is Christmas time. I'm very upset that, I still wasn't notified yet. But, I see you guys out here, so I know it's the real deal. Yeah, I'm very mad about this.
How long did you work here?
I'm working on 34 years.
Other employees told me they had no clue this was happening. Were you notified at all?
No, nobody knew. They told us they were going to close for a week for inventory. They do have excess of semi-tires. The Chinese flooded the market. So we knew they had problems with that, and they were telling us that this was a way to reduce inventory instead of having to buy another warehouse.
Like I said, it's just a sad day for myself and the rest of my coworkers that worked here. Yeah. It was excellent job, life-changing. Yes, that's all I can say. I'm just speechless right now.
Now, earlier this morning, the company hired a fencing company to bring fencing all around the property, and there was even security guards in tactical gear providing security for the upper management that was inside the building. I'm told upper management has been inside this morning and afternoon working on details of the closure, but naturally this is a devastating blow to the town of Tonawanda, 1,500 employees and a major manufacturer in town who obviously pays a lot of money in taxes, which is of course important to the town of Tonawanda. But again, devastating blow after Sumitomo Rubber abruptly announcing its closure today. We have a lot more details, a lot more questions about the timing of this closure, who knew what and when. We're going to be digging into that, and I'm still getting fed a lot of information by sources inside the union, workers who are working here, who might have more details, and we'll provide those updates shortly.
All right, folks, I want you guys. Oh, by the way, I apologize for my coughing. I'm trying not to cough as much, but I'm still trying to get over this cold. But anyways, I want you all to take notice of something. The employees you guys saw so far, I mean, most of them are anywhere from, I would say, their 40s to mid 50s. A lot of these guys didn't have their jobs for 20, 30 plus years. Some of these guys basically gave the majority of their adult life to this particular company, thinking that they're going to work there 30 years or whatever, collect a pension and retire and live the rest of their life happily ever after. Unfortunately, in today's economy, although most of us have to work somewhere and do something in order to make a living and survive, unfortunately, we can no longer afford to treat our employer the same way that our elders used to be able to treat their employers. What I mean by that is, in this day and age, sadly, us 9 to 5 workers cannot afford to give any of these companies any amount of loyalty. Like I told you guys on one of my previous videos, I made a video about a few months or so ago telling you guys to make your job about you. And reasons like this are the reasons why I made that video. And this is the reason why, if you're not doing it already, whatever job you're working, I don't care what kind of work it is, I don't care what it pays, I don't care how long you've been at the company, I don't even care whether you love, like, or despise your job. Always make your job about you. Period. And this story that I'm sharing with you guys are one of the big reasons why I'm going to keep on saying that. Let's keep going here. Oh, and take note of how these employees were treated. As far as I'm concerned, these employees were lied to. When the company told these people that they can go home and they'll get paid for a week, it's kind of funny how 3 days after they were sent home, all of a sudden the headquarters in Japan decided to close that plant down. And these employees, as you guys will continue to hear, did not get efficient notice before the closure of this plant. So not only did these employees not get any notice before the closure of the plant, but they were damn near treating these employees like some freaking criminals. I mean, they hired a gate company to gate the facility, and they hired security with tactical force. So sadly, this is how a lot of jobs are treating their employees, which is why I hate to say it, but this is the reason why it is not a good idea to give too much of your loyalty to any of these companies. Let's keep going.
But for now, live in Tonawanda, on your side, Nate Benson. Courtney, back to you in the studio.
All right, Nate, thanks so much. You'll keep us updated. From workers to elected officials, there's a lot of reaction coming in about the plant closing. Governor Kathy Hochul's office released a statement to us saying, in part, quote, the governor is committed to using every tool in the state's arsenal to support the more than 1,500 workers and their families impacted by this closure, which is why she has directed the New York State Department of Labor to activate its rapid response team to provide immediate resources to these employees that will help them find new jobs and ways to support their families.
I got a question for the governor of New York. I understand that it's not her fault that this company did what they did to their employees, but I wonder exactly what the governor is going to do for these people. Is she going to pay their mortgage? Is she going to pay for some Christmas gifts for these employees with children at home so they can celebrate the holidays? Is she going to pay for their groceries? Is she going to put something in their retirement fund that they may have been funding? What exactly is she going to do? I'm just wondering. I'm just curious. Are these employees going to get the same financial support as the migrants got when they came to New York? I'm just curious. Let's keep going.
Families, end quote. And we are also getting reaction at the local level. Most Buffalo's Alyssa Clausell continues our team coverage with that part of the story. Alyssa, what are you hearing from local leaders about this?
Well, Courtney, much like plant workers, local government officials are now also expressing their outrage and frustration with the seemingly sudden and abrupt closure of the site here, especially after millions of dollars of investment since they took over the plant years ago. And when we're talking about investment here, let's just lay it out really quick. Since Sumitomo took over in 2015, Erie County Executive Mark Poloncarz laid it out pretty clearly in a statement he shared with our newsroom. He cited the sales and property tax incentives Erie County provided in 2017 and then again in 2021. He said, quote, Erie County government will continue to do all that they can to keep the plant opening, signaling that there is hope that to somehow salvage those thousands of jobs. Also speaking out today, Assemblymember Bill Conrad. This is, of course, his district, and he's echoing the same promise of somehow finding a way to salvage the plant, but the chances for that are already looking pretty slim.
From what we're hearing, this board made their decision, and it's going to be an uphill battle. So we're reaching out to all our partners across the state, federal, both parties, trying to get some response, and we're moving it up all the way to the Biden administration, whoever, to make sure that we could do something, save this plant or find a new buyer and do something.
You know what? Even if they did find a new buyer, there is zero guarantee that any of these employers are going to get their positions back. It is very possible that they might find a new buyer, and if they do, who knows? I mean, they might hire a bunch of migrants to work those positions. They might find a way to change a lot of those positions to AI. So, even if they did find a buyer, as far as I'm concerned, if I were those employees that got laid off, I wouldn't be holding my breath.
We're also hearing from Senator Sean Ryan, who has called this situation heartbreaking news, vowing to work with partners to find a solution. And Town Supervisor Joe Eminger today saying the town stands with the over 1,500 workers now out of a job. Now, with all of these local government leaders speaking out, they're going to have to work with the Department of Labor to make sure that all severance packages and benefits are met, because there's supposed to be a certain threshold of notice for things like this, and it clearly was not met today. But we'll keep track of that. Live and on your side in Tonawanda, Alyssa Clausel, Channel 2 News.
All right, Alyssa, thank you. And of course, we have more coverage as we go.
Tomo emailed staff at 12:15 p.m. Now, 7 News has obtained that message. It says in part this decision was not made lightly. We understand the significant impact it has on each of you and your families. Of course, this is a major blow to so many, to workers, to this community, to their family. This company, which has been here for more than a century, it was back in 1920. Crews broke ground on this facility to house Dunlop Tire's first U.S. plant. Sumitomo became the sole owner in 2015. And just 2 years ago, your tax dollars, they were used for a $122 million investment into this facility. At the time, Sumitomo said it would help answer increased tire demand driven by stores' strong SUV that is, and light truck sales in North America. So clearly a lot of history here, a lot of livelihoods impacted. And we also want to mention an important note. The company did not issue a warn notice until after the news broke, which they're required to do. And joining me now, Eileen Buckley, and she also spoke with some employees here, just shocked by this news, learning on social media, holding on to some hope, though, that maybe this plant can be saved. Eileen, what'd they say?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Leah, what I'm learning is that there is a possible bipartisan effort from both sides of the aisle among federal, state, and local leaders.
And we're going to fight like hell.
State Assemblyman Bill Conrad telling me there was no warning of the immediate shutdown of Sumitomo Rubber in the town of Tonawanda, a facility that makes tires for cars, trucks, buses, and motorcycles.
They're no nonsense. There's no drama. They just made a decision by the board of directors in Japan, and they pulled the plug.
The company saying in a statement the closing comes after an extended examination of the viability of the facility. It cites mounting costs, and even with changes it made over the last several years, it did not help with mounting financial losses. Workers I spoke with don't believe it.
I blame it on the dumping of tires into this country from Thailand and China. And there's no tariffs put on them, making ours more costly to produce in the long term.
Gary Pelletier has been working at the plant for 29 years. He says there was no warning. Workers say they were notified the plant would close this week because they had to reduce a high level of inventory, but would reopen Monday.
I would say at this point, it doesn't exactly take a person with a very high IQ to be able to decipher the BS that the higher ups are saying. I mean, to me, it's very obvious that the higher ups who run this company knew good and well that they were going to shut this place down permanently this week. Just like, yesterday, Thursday. And I'm going to assume that they've known about this shutdown dates for at least the last year, if not longer. They just didn't have the decency to pass down that information to their employees in a timely manner. That's my take on it. Let's keep going.
No clue that this was coming.
Employee Eric Dutchman also didn't buy the inventory shutdown.
It seemed fishy at the time a little bit, but we've had a lot of inventory in the warehouse, more than normal.
The idea that this plant management based in Japan would send over 1,000 workers home, 1,200 workers home, with a promise of coming back to work, and then overnight snap their fingers on a chalkboard or on a piece of paper like we're some sort of statistic here in Western New York and say, forget it, you're not coming back to work? That's horrific.
Congressman Tim Kennedy says he and other local leaders are reaching out to the corporation, hoping in a last-ditch effort they would rescind this decision. Along with 1,200 union workers at the facility, about 350 other white-collar jobs were also lost. Now outside one of the entrances, a dramatic look of very tight security.
I'm kind of at shock.
All right, folks. Reasons like what you guys are seeing on this video are the reasons why when you get a job, especially a job like this, that I'm assuming the people that worked here were making decent money, which is why they stuck around for so long. This is the reason why that A, you live below your means. B, you always have a retirement fund of some sort set aside. Or at the bare minimum, you have what I would call an FU fund set aside. That way, if you want to walk off the job for whatever reason, you can. Or if you get laid off, you got a little bit of money to live off of outside of just unemployment. And in this day and age, if you're working a job like this, a job to where basically you're working at a factory or a warehouse, as hard as people working those type of jobs, as time consuming as those type of jobs are, at some point, you're gonna have to make room in your schedule and also room in your finances to either A, go back to school and take some courses and earn some type of certification, or B, learn a new skill. That way, when you lose your job like these men that lost their jobs, you can go and you can get a job doing something else. Now, that sounds easy, and I realize it's easier said than done, but unfortunately, in today's economy, that's how it is. You can't take these jobs at face value. You cannot take these jobs for granted. Clearly, as you guys have seen, it does not matter how long that you've been at a job. It doesn't matter how good of an employee that you might be. It doesn't matter about any rewards you received. It doesn't matter how much of a brown noser you might be. I had to fill that in because But anyways, it doesn't matter. It makes no difference. They don't care. All they care about is that bottom line. So while you're working these jobs, save money, and always have alternative plans to make a living for when things like this happen. Let's keep going.
Right now that they have barricades up and security guards in tactical gear at our main entrance.
Now, I was told by a public relations firm for the company the added security was set up for the white-collar workers who were coming in Thursday to meet about the closing. Now, just a few years ago, the
white-collar workers that they're talking about are probably the CEOs of the company. Yeah, they got security set up and everything like that. That way they wouldn't get their head smashed in by some of these employees that are feeling some kind of way about losing their job at the last second right around the holiday season. Got it. Let's keep going.
Facility underwent a $144 million upgrade. It received more than $3 million in state tax credits, and that has elected leaders and, of course, the employees all wondering why this facility is now shuttered. Leah?
Yeah, a lot of people shocked tonight, and this facility, of course, one of the 5 largest manufacturers in Western New York, ranking 4th on the list, so clearly impacting a lot of people, impacting this community. I spoke with more workers today who told me that they were so surprised by the news this morning. They have no idea what they're going to do next. How long did you work there for?
28 years, 3/6/96.
You woke up this morning and
found out the doors were closed.
Tracy Brown is one of hundreds of workers trying to figure out what to do next after learning the Sumitomo rubber plant he worked at for nearly 3 decades is closing. What was your reaction?
Hurt. It's hard to take. I put so much of my time in here, my damn near 28 years of my life.
Brown says he had no idea the plant was closing and was hoping to finish his career there.
Well, I'm unfortunate, just buying a house and all, and what I'm supposed to do now. Too old, I'm up in age, it's like, gotta start all over.
How long did you work there?
29 years and 2 months.
29 years and 2 months, and you found out on Facebook that you didn't have a job.
Yes.
Gary Pelletier also in shock after learning his company plans on shutting down.
Disbelief, disgust.
Now, here's the sad thing about this particular story. When you guys look at some of these men that had that job, notice that these men are in their late 40s, early to mid 50s. So, unfortunately, a lot of these individuals are going to become victims of age discrimination for future jobs that they apply for. And and some of these employees, like that one employee that's been at that company he's been there since '96. You know, you can tell he kind of let himself go a little bit. So I think for him it might be a little bit more difficult to find another job unless he finds something that's not so physically that's not physical labor. Now maybe he can still do it. Maybe he still has it in him. But if somebody like him, not this man right here, but the other man that you guys saw a second ago, if somebody like him were to attend a job interview for a job that's physical, there's a good chance that they would decide to not hire him just based off of his physical appearance, which is sad. I mean, these men are a compromising situation because of their age. And also, the economy in Western New York is not exactly the best economy out here.
What do I do? What am I going to do for work? Too young to retire. I'm only 49. You never expect that you're going to have to go through this.
Jim Sheridan has been with the company for 26 years, and he can't believe how he learned he no longer has a job.
From a text from somebody that worked at the plant. They're doing some things this week that were unprecedented, right? They closed the facility down. They said it was for inventory and a reduction of costs, but they had to have known. You know, they've got armed guards down there and they've got fencing up.
What are you going to do next?
I have no idea. You know, 55 years old. Built tires my whole life. Another bump in the road, I guess.
What am I going to do? Too old to start over, and don't know. I don't have any skills because I've been working there in a factory my whole life, busting my body up instead.
It's a real hard process, but with God's will, we'll make it. That's all I can say. We will make it.